Hi class, today we're talking about how communities take action together. Big words like methodologies and approaches just mean steps and ways to make a plan work. Think of this lesson like planning a big school event. If we just rush in without steps, things get chaotic. So in community action, we also follow phases, from identifying a problem to actually solving it. Let's go through them one by one. What is community action? Community action involves collective efforts to address community issues. Its purpose is to improve quality of life and promote sustainable development. Phases guide the process from identifying problems to implementing solutions. It's when people come together to solve common problems and improve their lives. Imagine your barangay has flooding issues every rainy season. Instead of waiting for someone to fix it, the people organize a cleanup, create drainage plans, and coordinate with the LGU. That's community action. It's about teamwork, unity, and shared responsibility. Basically, bayanihan in action. Phase 1. Establishing links and partnership building. Identifying and connecting with different actors, community groups, stakeholders, and etc. There are three types of partnerships. Community-based, it involves community members working together. Government-based, collaboration with government agencies. And faith-based, partnerships involving religious institutions. This is the getting to know you stage. Before doing anything, we need to build partnerships with people, groups, and organizations that can help. Example, if your school wants to start a tree planting project, who should you connect with? Maybe DNR, the barangay, or a local youth group. That's partnership building. Remember the three types: community based, government based, and faith based. In short, collaboration makes things happen faster, just like a group project when everyone shares their strengths. Phase 2: Community Profiling, a research method to understand the community's nature, needs, and resources. Active participation from community members is crucial. It helps in creating a detailed picture to formulate effective action plans. Example, identifying key demographics, resources, and local concerns. We need to know the community better. Community profiling is like doing research about your neighborhood, who lives there, what they do, and what they need. Example, if you want to help your barangay, you can conduct interviews or surveys. What's your biggest problem here? Maybe people will say lack of lighting or no clean water. The goal? To understand the real situation, not just guess it. Now that we know the situation, let's check what the community already has and what's missing. Phase 3: Needs and Resource Assessment. Assess existing skills and resources in the community. Critical step before creating an action plan. It involves identifying gaps and needs, pinpointing available resources like human, financial, and institutional. Example, if you want to start a mental health awareness program in school, you check, do we have a guidance counselor, posters, volunteers, or do we need to ask help from NGOs or experts? This phase helps us make realistic plans based on what's available. You don't start a project with zero knowledge or resources. That's like starting a cooking contest without checking if you even have a pan. Another example is surveying local health services before launching a healthcare initiative. This phase is exciting. Everyone gets involved. Phase 4, participatory action planning and leadership development. Community works together to diagnose problems and develop solutions. It encourages inclusive decision making and active participation. Role of experts is as facilitators, not decision makers. It involves information gathering, consultation, and collective decision making, taking action together and supporting independent initiatives. Example, community meeting to plan a local waste management system. Another example is, let's say your school wants to solve the problem of waste. Instead of the teacher deciding alone, students, janitors, and staff all discuss. Should we have eco bricks, recycling corners, compost bins? Everyone's voice matters. In this phase, leaders are not bosses. They are facilitators. They help the group plan and lead, not dictate. Now that we have a plan, let's gather what we need. Phase 5, resource mobilization. Securing resources from stakeholders to achieve project goals. Mechanisms include fundraising, partnerships, and in-kind support. Identifying potential donors, volunteers, or government programs. Example, partnering with NGOs to provide educational materials for a local school. Resource mobilization means finding support, money, materials, and people. Like, say, for example, fundraising for a charity drive or asking a local business to donate paint for a mural project. It's not just about cash. Even volunteers and donations of time count as resources. Remember, your best resource is people who care. Here's where the action begins. Time to execute the plan. Phase 6, plan implementation. Step-by-step execution of the action plan. Assign tasks to team members and set deadlines. Includes timelines, milestones, and resource allocation. Example, implementing a feeding program over the course of 6 months with specific goals for each month. Think of it like your group performance task. You assign roles. You design the posters, you manage materials, set deadlines, and check progress. If your goal is a 6 month feeding program, you might say, month 1, find sponsors. Month 2, finalize menu. Month 3, start weekly meals, step by step, clear and doable. This phase answers two questions. Is it working? Or what can we improve? Phase 7 is monitoring and evaluation M&E. Continuous assessment of the project's progress and impact. Monitoring ensures the project stays on track. Evaluation measures success and identifies areas for improvement. Example, regularly assessing the attendance and impact of a community workshop series. Its purpose is to improve future projects and programs. The importance of phases in community action. It helps create organized and effective community projects. It promotes transparency, accountability, and community ownership. And it ensures that resources are used efficiently and that the project has a meaningful impact. These phases aren't just steps, they're the secret to success. Imagine skipping one. If you plan but never build partnerships, who will support you? Or if you implement but never evaluate, how will you know if it worked? So every phase matters, from planning to reflection. Following them means stronger teamwork, better outcomes, and sustainable projects. Conclusion: empowering communities through action. Methodologies and phases provide a structured approach to community action. Empowerment comes from participation, collaboration, and accountability. When executed well, community action fosters sustainable development and improves quality of life. Here's the heart of it all: community action empowers people. It teaches us that real change doesn't come from one person or one leader. It comes from participation, collaboration, and accountability. When people join forces, whether for cleanliness drives, tutoring kids, or mental health awareness, they don't just fix problems, they build stronger communities. So, class, remember, you don't have to be rich, famous, or powerful to create change. You just have to start acting together. All right, that is it. Thank you, and I'll catch you on my next one. Bye for now.